Hello and welcome back. My name is Dr. Christopher Gennari. This is the Great Big History Podcast. This is episode 2 of India, where we talk about some of the culture. We will talk about Hinduism, and we will talk about the caste system. When we left off, the Aryans had invaded. The Aryans were people on the move during the Bronze Age collapse. They will invade and subsume the Bronze Age India. Bronze Age India existed, and yet it was so eliminated from history that India forgot it had a Bronze Age. The Aryans come in, they don't know and they don't care that much. So that it's only recently that digging and archaeology has discovered, oh, look, we have a Bronze Age. And it turns out it's an awesome Bronze Age. But there's not a lot of connection, like we said, isolation with the Middle East, Babylon at this time, and the Bronze Age. It's hard to travel across the deserts and up to Central Asia. And there was a collapse. It seems to be that India broke up into pieces, and those pieces then got overwhelmed as part of the Bronze Age collapse and got absorbed into the new cultural system and kind of forgotten about. So let's talk about this new cultural system. The Aryans show up and they're tough. They're warrior people from a tough neighborhood, so they won. So that's not a problem. They are tougher than the native Indians. But they have a problem, and that problem is there's not enough. If you just let people be people and let young men and young women hook up with each other, because let's face it, the Aryans are a warrior people, so their young men are hot. They're jacked. They're riding in their chariots, they're fighting. So they're attractive, and they're the winners. So they're rich and attractive. Who doesn't want to marry them? And so if you just let young men be young men, and young women be young women, they're going to hook up. And if a Aryan man hooks up with an Aryan woman, or the other way around, but the way it would work is the Aryan man would hook up with the Aryan woman. Aryan man would hook up with the Indian, a cute, wealthy Indian woman. They're going to have children. Their children are going to be 50% Aryan, 50% Indian. Well, what happens if that happens again? If the son of that couple marries an Indian girl? Because there's not a lot of Aryans, so he'll marry an Indian girl. Well, now their kids are 25%. And if you do it again, it's 12%. And if you do it again, it's 6%, which is one old man's lifetime. And one old man's lifetime, he has watched himself go from totally awesome, pure Aryan, to his great-grandchild who is barely recognizable as an Aryan at all. 6%. Nothing. It's going to disappear. And so the worry is, if we let young men and young women just be young men and young women, that's going to be a problem because we will disappear as a race. Even though they didn't think about races, they thought about ethnicities. They thought about cultures. And so the idea was the Aryans would just be absorbed. This is exactly what China does to every invader, whether it's the Mongols or the Manchus or these invaders come in, or all the prehistoric peoples in 3, 4, 5,000 BC who come into the river valleys. They conquer it, they run it, and over a period of time, they just get absorbed into the larger culture. They stop being Mongolian, they stop being Manchurian, and they become Chinese. So the Aryans are worried that this is going to happen. So they come up with a caste system, which is going to separate people by job. And the idea is the Aryans get the best jobs. Princes, priests and warriors, landlords. They're going to own the land. The native Indians will be laborers. They're going to work for a living. And then there is a group of people that even the native Indians don't like, and those are the outcasts. Those are the poorest of the poor. They're going to do the jobs nobody wants to do. And who's going to marry them? Well, nobody wants to marry them. So they're going to marry people within their own system, so they become their own caste. But they're literally outside the caste system. That's where we get the word outcast. The British showed up and said, oh, those poor people are terrible. What happened to them? What caste are they in? And they're like, oh, they're not even in a caste. That's how low they are. Like, they're out of the caste system. Outcast. So it's literally outside the system. So they marry each other. Native laborers will marry each other. And then the princes, the priests, the warriors, and the Aryan landlords. Now, each of these are divided themselves. So let's go with warriors. Warriors will have levels upon levels upon levels. To make it easy, we have warriors. Level 1 is the highest. Level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 is the lowest of warriors. Now, warriors are above landlords, but below princes, but equal to, in authority and reputation, priests. So it tells you what this society cares about. It cares about government, and then cares about keeping the gods happy and warfare equally. That the priests aren't above the warriors, and the warriors are not above the priests. So in each of these castes are subcastes. So we have warriors 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What does this mean? It means my dad is a warrior level 3. So when I'm born, I'm a warrior level 3. And this is true for women as well. When they are born, they get the caste. They are in the caste of their parents. So they are warrior level 3. So how does this work? Well, it means when I go to school, I'm going to warrior level 3 school. And everybody in that class is going to be a warrior level 3. Including my future best friend will be in that class. Just like Harry Potter and Ron are in the same class. They're in Gryffindor together. Oh, they're going to be best friends. Notice that they're in Harry Potter, there are very few people who are friends across houses. You know, you don't have a best friend who's in Slytherin. It just doesn't happen. And so when you get your house, you get your future best friend and, like the cast, your future girlfriend, your future wife is going to be there. Notice also how many people marry within their own house in Harry Potter, in Hogwarts. So I'm in warrior level 3 school. Everybody there is warrior level 3. My best friend is warrior level 3. When I go to prom, I'll take a warrior level 3 person with me as my date. When I get married, I will marry a warrior level 3 person, and my best man at my wedding will be a warrior level 3. When I join a bowling league, I will bowl on Wednesdays, warrior level 3 day. Everyone on my team will be warrior level 3s. We will bowl against other warrior level 3s. We will, when I have a barbecue, I will invite all of my friends, warrior level 3s, who I have known all my life. And when I die, I will be mourned by warrior level 3s. So what do I get out of this? Well, what people get out of it is community. I have known, by the time I die, people my entire life. I can depend on them. I get protection. I need money. I've got 50 people I could ask money for because I've known them and they have known me. I need someone to watch my kids because I need to go to Target to go get something. I got plenty of people who I trust to watch my kids. We are a community, and I gain protection because those people within that community depend on each other. We know each other. We have bonds. We will marry each other. We will hang out. We will socialize together. We are a community. We are a mini community within a larger community. And that's huge protection. It's also huge predictability. For those of you who have kids, do you have a best friend who also has kids who are about the same age as your kids? And have you ever thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if our kids got married? If they got married, then we could be best friends forever. Wouldn't it be so cute? It'd be great. And then our grandkids would be like the mixing of me and my best friend. That would be amazing. Well, that's what India and the caste system has. That predictability. I know what my job is going to be. In fact, the society knows how many warrior level 3s they'll have. They know in first grade how many warrior level 3s they have. So when they reach graduation, they know they can predict how many they're going to have if they need more. If they have to make some. Or they have too many. So society gets predictability. I get predictability. The person gets predictability. I know who my friends are going to be. I know who my relationships are going to be. I know who, because they're my parents' friends and they were their parents' friends. So we have multi-generational connections. 2, society gets workers. It knows how many warrior level 3s it's going to get. It knows how many grocery store baggers it gets. Capitalism doesn't. As much as you may go, oh, capitalism is a better economic system, you have to understand, capitalism has no idea how many workers it will have at any given time. We need a lot more engineers in America. We have no mechanism for making them other than for a company to raise wages. That's it. Now, it takes 10 years to become educated enough to become an engineer. And so you don't know when you start, will this pay off? And so capitalism doesn't have a lot of mechanisms to fill out its labor shortages. It simply doesn't know how. So if nursing is a perfect example, we import nurses. We don't have enough nurses, so we import them. We go to the Philippines, hospitals go, or the country goes to the Philippines and Mexico and says, we need nurses. Are you qualified to be a nurse? Yes, sign off. All right, you're coming to America. Because we don't have enough in America. In India, you don't have that ability to just pull lots of people, to just suddenly make people for a job. And so what this gets is society gets its workers because you know what jobs people are going to have because that's when they're born, what job they're going to have. And society gets predictability. 3, problems. What if I don't like being a warrior level 3? What if I want to be a warrior level 2 or a warrior level 1 or a prince? Well, you can't. You can't move up. You are what you are. Now, you can't move down, and that is an advantage. Like, you can't get worse off. But you can't get better either. And so that's a problem. Now, there will be a solution to this, and that will be in Hinduism, but it's not in the caste system. In the caste system, you are what you are, and one day you die as what you were. So to deal with this, Hinduism will come up with an answer. We'll talk about that in a second. So the caste system exists as this economic social system that gives a lot of stability, but it also does not give a lot of mobility to people. So what about Hinduism? Hinduism is the belief system. It's the religion. It's how they interact, how people will interact with nature and philosophy. And so what they have is multiple gods. Vedas. Vedas. Multiple gods. So this is a polytheistic religion. And this is the largest polytheistic religion still extant. Still around. And what it has is warrior gods and warrior culture. That comes from the Aryans. And that makes total sense. When the Aryans show up and they win their wars in India, they say, our gods are awesome. Your gods suck. So our warrior gods are now the top dog gods. And that's the gods that are going to exist. And people said, okay, why? Because they lost. And they blame, remember, job 1 of gods is protection. If they can't protect you, you don't worship them anymore. And you say, all right, fine. We'll take your super gods. We'll take your warrior gods. But here's the thing. Settled Indian society had all of the hallmarks of being settled, whereas the Aryans were on the move. So the Aryans don't have books, religious tomes. They don't have temples. They don't have all of the priests and the ceremonies and all of those things that are built up generation upon generation upon generation by people who are settled. Like Aryans don't have Notre Dame because they aren't in one place long enough to take 100 years to build a church generation after generation after generation. India did. India had these temples. And so what they did, what Hinduism is taking the Aryan gods and combining them with Indian, native Indian, Bronze Age Indian concepts and behaviors. So you get temples, and you get the priests, and you get the ceremonies. All of that is native Indian. The Aryans just imported their gods and then absorbed all of that kind of how do you worship the gods kind of part, and went from being a people on the move, so you kind of did it here and there when you could, to being now we'll build massive temples, and now we'll have thousands of priests, and we are going to do this settled. We're going to do this big. So one of the most important concepts is samsara, the transmigration of the soul. And this is going to play into the caste system. The idea is your soul returns. It is not reincarnated. You are not reincarnated. You do not come back as you. You come back as something else. Your soul returns, but you do not. You come back, but without the memories of your previous life, without knowledge of it, without connections to it. And you do life again. You do your journey again. And this may sound crazy to you, but it actually works with the first rule of thermodynamics, the first law of thermodynamics, which is energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So the idea is, what happens to the soul? Well, the soul comes back. So that you constantly are living over and over and over a life again, trying to get it right. So that links to karma. And this is the original karma, not Buddhist karma. This is just a tally. Hinduist karma is a listing of good and versus bad stuff. So that when you die, there's a comic, think of St. Peter at the pearly gates with a book. And that lists all the good things you did versus all the bad things you did. And if there's more good than bad, you get to come back, but as a better caste. Warrior level 2. But if there's more bad than good, you go down. Now I'm a warrior level 4 or a warrior level 5. I'm really going down. Now, this is not the Buddhist version. The Buddhist version is if you do good things will happen back to you. It's the sending out of energy into the universe, like tides. This is simply a tally. Hinduistic karma. And it works with samsara because when you come back, what do you come back as, is the question. And so the answer is that everybody wants to be good at what they are. If I'm a warrior level 3, I want to be a good warrior level 3. If I'm a native laborer, I want to be a good native laborer. Why? Because I want to come back and move up. This applies to everybody. So if you are a warrior level 4, it means one of two things. You were either a good warrior level 5 and moved up, or you are a bad warrior level 3 and you move down. And so every generation is an attempt to better yourself, to do well so that you'll move up when you come back, when samsara kicks in. Now remember, this is not reincarnation. Reincarnation is you come back as you. So Jesus is reincarnated because Jesus comes back as Jesus. And he says, hey, I'm Jesus. And people are like, whoa, Jesus. He looks like Jesus. He's got the scars. That's the St. Thomas story. He's got the scars and holes of Jesus. He is Jesus. Back. He knows all the people. Notice he goes to Mary Magdalene first. He knows everybody. He knows them by their names. He knows his histories with them. He is Jesus returned. That's reincarnation. Whereas samsara is your soul comes back. So what this gives is an incentive to everybody to be good, to do good work, to be good at what they are, so they'll move up. Ultimately, what the answer is what's the last stage is nirvana, where one becomes one with the universe. Because here's the thing, you do 1,000 lifetimes, it sucks. Imagine doing high school 1,000 times. This is why I never bought the Twilight thing. I never understood Twilight. Because Edward Cullen has to do high school forever. That's awful. Like, you get exhausted by that. Your body gets exhausted by that. Your soul gets exhausted by that. This is usually vampire tales. The Vampire Lestat tales, the Anne Rice tales. That the thing is that it's cool to be immortal for a little while, and then it kind of gets tiring. Because it's the same thing forever. And forever is a long time, and it becomes hard to adapt. It's hard to change. And so living forever is by young people, it's seen as a great thing because you want to be young forever. But what if you're old forever? I've had plenty of old people in my life say to me, never get old. What can you tell me about living the good life? Never get old. So you're like, thanks, great. Because if I don't get old, I die. That's not good either. All right. In our next episode, we will do Buddhism. So that's what we're going to talk about next. Thank you.